You know that feeling, that specific kind of contentment when you're finally truly alone? It's not about relief from something bad. It's this genuine satisfaction of being exactly where you want to be. And to anyone looking in, it might seem like something's missing, but for you on the inside, it feels absolutely complete.
So, if that feeling of happy solitude resonates with you at all, I bet you've heard this question a million times. It's always the first thing people ask, right? And look, it usually comes from a place of genuine confusion because for so many people, being alone and being lonely are the exact same thing. But we know they're not even close.
Okay, so let's get crystal clear on the difference right up front. Loneliness, that's a painful, involuntary state. It's about lacking connection when you really want it. But aloneness, that's totally different. It's a chosen, positive state of just being with yourself. One is a deficit, the other is a preference. And honestly, understanding this distinction is the key to everything we're about to explore. And it's this misunderstanding that creates what you could call the myth of loneliness. Society often sees someone spending a weekend by themselves and just assumes something must be wrong, that they have to be sad or bored or antisocial, but that's just the external view.
Here's the core disconnect. The outside world perceives an empty space that needs to be filled with people and plans. But the internal reality for someone comfortable with aloneness is one of fullness. Their world feels complete and self-sufficient. There's nothing lacking. It isn't about avoiding people, it's about genuinely enjoying the company of yourself.
So, where does this feeling of fullness come from? Well, the answer lies in what psychologists call a rich inner world. It's the idea that for some people, their own mind provides more than enough stimulation, making solitude a really vibrant and engaging experience. The psychological concept for this is internal complexity. Now, this isn't about being smarter or anything like that. It's about having a mind that's just constantly and naturally generating its own content. Think of it like a self-sustaining engine of thoughts and questions and ideas. You don't need to go looking for interesting things because they're already happening right inside your head. So what does this actually feel like? Well, for a person with high internal complexity, boredom is genuinely a foreign concept because their mind is always working on something interesting. So solitude isn't about losing social interaction, it's about gaining the time and space to recharge and really connect with your own thoughts. It is pure restoration. Oh, I love this quote because it just flips the common perception completely on its head. To an outsider, it looks like nothing is happening, but for the individual, everything is happening. Thoughts are connecting, ideas are forming, insights are being processed. That internal world is incredibly active. But this isn't just a personality quirk. It has deep roots in our development and even in our brain's wiring. The science here is fascinating, and it gives us a clear look at why some people are just, well, built this way. This capacity often starts really early. I mean, think of the child who can play alone for hours, completely absorbed in their own imagination. That same trait just evolves. In the teenager, it becomes the ability to get lost in a book or a project. And in adulthood, it shows up as the capacity for deep work, that's sustained, focused, and often solitary creative thinking. And here's the brain science to back it up. We all have something called a default mode network, which is the part of our brain that's active when our mind is just at rest and wandering. Well, brain imaging studies show that in people who prefer solitude, this network has a much higher baseline of activity. Their brains are essentially wired to be more engaged with their own internal thoughts, even when they aren't trying. This means that for this type of brain, downtime isn't boring at all. It's an opportunity. It's the chance to process information, make new connections, and explore ideas without any external demands. For them, silence isn't empty. It's incredibly productive. So this brings us to a major conflict. If this internal wiring is so natural, why is it so misunderstood? Well, it's because we live in a culture that values noise, busyness, and constant external stimulation. We've all felt the pressure of this question. There's an expectation that a good weekend is a busy one, filled with plans and people. Saying, "Oh, I didn't do much, I just thought and read a bit," can feel like you're admitting failure, even if it was deeply fulfilling. This forces so many people to just hide their genuine preference for quiet. So you end up with these two opposing forces. On one side, society praises the full calendar, treating busyness like a virtue. And on the other, the internally complex person just craves empty space on that calendar. not to do nothing, but to do the essential internal work of thinking and processing. Think of it this way. Socializing can be cognitively expensive. For someone whose mind is always running, it requires a lot of energy. You have to pause your own active train of thought to follow and engage with someone else's. It's not that it isn't enjoyable, but it costs something, an expenditure of cognitive energy that solitude simply doesn't require.
So let's reframe this entire idea. What if this need for solitude isn't a social deficit at all? What if it's actually a strength, a kind of superpower in a world that can't stop talking?
I mean, look at the benefits that come from this stillness. Uninterrupted time leads to enhanced self-awareness and the ability to do that deep work. It's where you synthesize all these different ideas into something new. This is where innovation and creative breakthroughs happen, in the quiet moments when the mind finally has space to work. If any of this has resonated with you, I want you to really let these next few messages sink in. First and foremost, you are not broken for needing or enjoying time alone. You are not antisocial. You are internally complex. And that isn't a diagnosis. It's a description of a rich and active mind. It's a sign of a brain that can entertain, engage, and sustain itself. And finally, maybe the most powerful truth of all, your mind is enough company. You haven't failed at being social. You have succeeded at being self-sufficient. So I'll just leave you with this question. What if we stopped trying to fix people who enjoy solitude and instead started to see it as a valuable trait? What if the goal isn't to become more social, but to finally honor the powerful, creative, and deeply meaningful world that already exists inside you?